G'day guys, it's Jake, your mate that you can pause here. So in the previous video, I made some voxel terrain, some computer generated one, but I just had a single chunk. So what I'm going to do today is make what you see here, basically infinite amount of terrain. Still doesn't look pretty, but it's pretty big. I still can fiddle with the graphics, can fiddle with the random generation a little bit, but this is what I've got so far. And I have actually added caves and stuff under here as well. You can see there's these cavities under here, hidden caves, but that's it. We've got a nice, smoothly running, pretty massive map. Right now I've got it set to, so I've got 32 chunks in every direction, and that's multiplied by 16. So 32 by 16. So that's right now that's a map of 512 by 512, which is actually 4 times bigger than a standard RimWorld map. So your RimWorld map would be 255 by 255, something like that. We probably won't keep it this big in real game. Who knows? Depends, as long as we can keep it running nicely. All right, let's get started with it. All right, so the first thing I need to do is start making up this world class. So let's make a class for that, and yeah, let's call it world. And we'll add a few buttons to this and make it a tool as well. So we'll have one to clear all the chunks. We'll have one to generate our chunks. And let's also make this one responsible for the chunk size. And since we're going to be making more than one chunk, let's make a world size as well. And this will be just how many chunks we make in every axis. So that'll be a vector 3i. We're going to have a dictionary to hold our chunks. So what that's going to be, it's going to have a chunk, but referenced by a vector 3i. So we've got all our little chunks in different positions. So if I want to talk to a block, first I can find its chunk, then its block. And so we'll keep these organized. And we're going to shift all the random stuff here as well. So let's go export and have our seed be here. Let's make our noise frequency available here as well, so we can fiddle around with it. And we'll actually have our noise here too. And let's store our chunk prototype so we can load it for each one. So we just go preload and then go out, grab our chunk, and let's save that branch as a scene. And so there's our basic chunk.tscn. Where is it? Chunk.tscn. All right, nothing to do in ready, but we need to make our buttons work. So let's just go if clear chunks equals false. And to clear the chunks, well, first let's make a variable, let's make a function for that. So clear chunks, and the chunks, they're just going to be children of the world parent here. So all we're going to do is just go children equals get children. Learn how to spell, and we'll just go for child in children, and then we just go child.free. And so if I press that now, it should clear this chunk for me. And yeah, let's see if that happens. So for the world, since we've just added it as a tool, we need to go and reload the current project. And then let's see if we can clear the chunks. And it didn't work. Oh, I didn't actually tell it to run that. Clear chunks. All right, clear the chunks. Good, so we can clear the chunks away now. All right, so our other button, if generate chunks, all right, so how is this going to work? So first of all, we're going to make a little loop to loop through our world size. So for, func generate chunks. And so we'll go for x in range world size.x. And let's do the same for y and z. And then we just go generate chunk, which I haven't made yet. And we'll pass through the current position. So that'll be vector 3i. And so it's going to be x, y, and z. But that's going to be just like, if we have a world size of 4, that's only going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to, for the chunks, they're going to be referenced by their position. So it's not going to be chunk number 0, chunk number 1. It's going to be, if we've got a world at a chunk size of 16, the first one's going to be 0. The second one's going to be 16, then 32. So let's multiply each of these by the chunk size. And then we need to make this generate chunk method, which takes a pos. And so what we do is we make our chunk, which is our chunk prototype dot instantiate. We're going to tell the chunk its position, which will be pos. So that's the actual position of the mesh. So we need to keep that. We're going to add that chunk as a child. So it's going to be part of our world block now. So it will actually get rendered. Now we're going to add it to our chunks dictionary so we can reference it more easily. So we go chunks at position equals this chunk. And now we just have to sort of initialize the chunk the way we were doing it before. So let's go chunk dot init the blocks. And what's it going to need to know? It's going to need to know the chunk size. So that's going to be passed through from here now. It needs to know its position. And let's pass it through the noise from here. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pass through the noise to the chunk. The reason I was doing that is when we initialize the blocks, we check the noise and we decide whether each block is going to be a dirt or air. What I'm going to actually have this one do now is reference the world again to get that certain block. So we can do all that from the top level. So init the block, what do we call it? Init blocks, I've changed it to. So init blocks, and we're just going to go from here. We're going to go get parent dot get block, and then all this deciding what happens with the noise will come from there. So we're going to go, let's see. He's getting passed through the chunk size and the position size, which is an int, and the position, which is a vector 3i. Let's just stick an underscore on that. So now we're not setting this here, but we will remember it here. So chunk size equals chunk size. So he'll get passed through that. And the position, all right, so he knows his position. So what he's going to do with the parent, he's going to go get block, and he's going to go the pos.x, vector 3i, and we're going to go pos.x plus x. So this guy's only thinking about his local position when he's going, so he's counting through all the x's from 0 through to 16, and then we'll add the actual high level position here. So each chunk is sort of not really aware of what's around it. It only knows its own local positions. And anytime we need to go outside that, we'll reference the world. And if we're going to talk to the chunk next to it, then the world will pass you to that chunk. So we'll go pos.y plus y, pos.z plus z. And then we'll sort of delete this. Well, I'll just comment it out for now. So when this guy inits his blocks, he'll ask the parent what he should be. So let's go and add this one now before I forget. Func get block. And let's keep it basic for now. So we'll just go if, what is it? It's noise dot get noise 3D, pos.x, pos.y, pos.z. And if that's greater than minus 0.5, which was our threshold, then we'll return, okay. So right now, the block types are here in chunk. I'm going to delete them from there. And I'm actually going to make a block script. And any little helpers and stuff like that we'll keep in there. Node, so let's go class name block, and we'll have block type, what's it, enum, block type air, dirt, and we're going to have different ones later. Okay, so now what we'll do is whenever we do that, it'll be block dot block type dot air Okay, so now we can reference here to get our sort of random blocks. I'm just going to delete all this button stuff from the chunk. We can't talk to the chunks directly anymore. That into know the threshold. Okay, but everywhere down here, you'll see block type air. I have to now go block dot block type air. All right, so that'll initialize the blocks, and then we have to generate the cube meshes. So let's do that here. So we initialize the blocks for the chunk, and then we go and generate the cube mesh. All right, I've done a fair bit now without testing it, so we better go and test it. Oh, so the chunk size I'm going to set to 16. The world size, let's just make it 2 by 2 by 2. We don't want to go too high at the start because this could get quite slow if we generated like, that's already 2, 4, 8 chunks we're making now. So let's go generate chunks. And something's happening, I can't do anything. Uh-oh, computer crashing. Well, that's not good. All right, before we try that again, let's limit that. All right, I'm going to set this back, 16. Let's make it just 1 by 1 by 1. And let's make sure we've got numbers for all of these. All right, let's see if that works any better. There we go, so one chunk works. Oh, okay, so there's a problem with get noise 3D in base nil, so world 47. Noise, oh, I haven't actually initialized noise, okay. So let's do that when I generate the chunks. I would normally have it in ready, but because we're doing the sort of tool thing, we can move it later. So noise equals, what was it called? Fast noise light dot new. And we're going to go noise.seed equals seed, and noise.frequency equals noise frequency. All right, let's give that a go. Gen cube mesh expects one argument. All right, Godot 47. So gen cube mesh. Oh, of course, it wants to know the position. Ah, okay. So this right now, actually, I'm calling the wrong one. This generates one cube. What I should be calling is generate chunk. So I'm just calling the wrong one. All right, let's give that a go. Clear the chunks. And there we got it. I'm not sure if that error just came in now. Clear the chunks, generate the chunk. Invalid access, 0. Chunk number 130. Not sure exactly what's happening there. Invalid access of index 0 on the type array. It's happening here. But we're generating the chunk after we've initialized all the blocks. Oh, I didn't do that last step of appending these. All right, yep, my bad. We never did the, yeah, so blocks. So it should be, we're appending it. And instead of doing that, we're actually going to grab it from the parent. Yeah, so I actually hadn't added that last sort of Z level. All right, so now it'll go through every block and it'll get whatever that noisy block state should be from the parent, from the world. Let's give that a go. Clear, generate. Let's say. All right, so let's see what we're actually getting here. Var block equals And let's just go print block. I'm pretty sure this is the method that's failing. So let's give that a try. And they're all zeros, all air. So yeah, I think the problem is I'm just generating fully air. Let's just, did I do the noise wrong? Let's just switch these for now and make a fully dirt one. All right, so that's working. And let's fiddle with the noise and see if we can get something different. And I've crashed it. There we go, just a little bit slow. Okay. Everything's going to be slow as long as I'm printing because there's 16,000 blocks there. So let's do a little test. Let's just see what this noise is. And then we'll sort of have an idea of what sort of level we're dealing with and what this threshold should be. And you see it sort of varies around the 0 mark actually. All right, easy enough. So let's just say if it's greater than 0. There we go. So now we're getting some noise and this is working again. All right, now that we've got that working and we've got some basic noise, let's create more of these, more chunks. It takes a bit longer. Oh, I should have turned off the printing first. That's going to be slow. All right, give this a moment. All right, so that worked. But yeah, be aware of that. We're doing a lot here. We're making a lot of cubes. There's a lot of individual operations. If you have just one print in there and a print is quite slow, it's going to absolutely slow everything down. All right, so you can see it's much quicker now. Let's change the seed, clear the chunks, generate new ones. You can see we generate them pretty quick. But we're going to have a problem once we have sort of a realistic amount. So let's do these 4x4 and up by 2, and let's clear it and generate. You can see now it wasn't too bad, but the computer froze out for a second there. And so what I'm going to do, we're going to just make this asynchronous. So what we're going to do is after every chunk we generate, we're going to go await engine.get main loop process frame. And so basically we're going to wait 1 frame. It's going to generate 1 chunk, wait 1 frame before it continues this method. And what that'll do is now you can see it generates them 1 at a time. And we still got to wait a little while. It probably takes a little bit longer overall to finish it, but it's not freezing out in the computer. So that'll be good when we do a loading screen or something later. And much better when we're doing very large amounts. Instead of just freezing out the computer, we can watch it appear in real time. So let's make it 8 by 8. Generate chunks. Whoops, I've got to remember to clear the old space. Let's fix that now. Before we generate chunks, let's clear the old ones first. There we go. All right, now what I want to do is make this a more realistic landscape. So we have sort of rolling hills. So this 3D noise is not going to work. So we're going to convert this to 2D noise. And so we're going to change this a little bit. And so we're going to go get noise 2D. And so we're getting X and Z. That's our sort of 2D arrangement. And I'm going to add a 1 to the end. So right now, remember, it's sort of congregating. It's sort of like 0, it's -1 to 1. So we're going to add 1 to it. So it goes sort of 0 to 2. And then I'm going to multiply it by the chunk size. So instead of having sort of 0 to 2, we're going to have sort of 0 to 32. So we're going to have much bigger hills now. And let's give that a shot and see if that works. And that did not work. Sorry. And what I want to do is actually check our pos.y. So what we're doing now is we're seeing if the Y position is greater than a certain noise level, then we'll do it, because these noise levels are giving us a nice 2D waviness. And so we're only going to draw a block if we're over a certain Y. All right, so still not working. So what we're going to do is we're going to print these and just see sort of roughly what sort of noise we're getting, what sort of number, and I can work out what to do. So let's go back to making only one because we're putting in prints. This is going to get rough. So you can see having that print with even only one chunk, suddenly it's so slow. Interesting, it's actually working. So you can see our numbers are sort of around about 20, which is what I expected. Have I done something silly? All right, let's make this a bit bigger again. Oh, okay, well I have no idea what I did. You can see they're a bit too noisy, so I think we need to fiddle with that noise frequency a little bit. And there we go. So let's make this much bigger. And now we've got some more sort of rolling terrain. And what I can do if I want to sort of stretch these peaks higher, there's a few things I can do. I can fiddle with the noise. So let's make it 0.02. You can see that makes it more wavy. If I make this sort of 0.08, we'll get steeper hills. So I'm going to leave it like that for now. So let's work out what's our XY size. So we've got 16 by 8. By 8. And so that's 1/4 the size of a RimWorld map right now. So let's make that a bit bigger. Let's go 16 by 16, and then we've got the RimWorld size. In 2D, obviously we're much bigger once we're going to the 3D. So in-game, we will hide this behind a load screen or something as this is happening. And there we go. We've got some beautiful terrain now. There's more we could do. It's going to need trees and stuff like that. But that's our basic terrain. All right, so now we're going to clean that up a little bit. Now, one thing you'll see if we go under here, every chunk does have all the outsiders drawn on there. And so we're going to fix that. So the way that's done right now is the chunk looks here and we go, is the block air? And we see if we're on the edge of a chunk, we just return true and assume it's air. What we can do now is we can actually check the block. So we go, basically we're going to use this one right here to get the block from the world. So if in this case, we'll go get the block, and we'll just go if block equals block dot block type dot air. Now, when we're asking the parent, what is that? We need to give it the world block position, and this right now is a local block position. So what we need to do is go basically this position here is the local position, and we're just going to add the position of this chunk, and we just return that. Let's give that a quick try. I'm going to drop this down because waiting for these to grow every time is a bit tiresome. All right, and you can see we're doing one side, not the other, because we did the zeros, not the pluses. So this is working. We can just copy this now and put this in here. And so this one checks the less than zeros, this one checks the bigger than the chunk sizes. If it's within the block, we can just check locally. We don't have to go outside. And there we go. And now we're really saving some time because we're only printing the very top. We're only drawing the very top. We're not drawing the sides. We're not drawing the underneaths. We are only drawing above. Now later on we might decide that the edge of the map we will sort of draw those sides. But for now I'm happy with this. We'll just imagine we're always looking sort of top down. All right, let's make this bigger again. All right, and you see we're getting all these errors. And these errors, I'm pretty sure that's happening when we've got a chunk with no faces whatsoever. We're sort of passing an empty array to the rendering server. So I think the way we can do that is we go to our chunk, and here's where we draw the faces. Where is it? Blocks. here. And what we'll do is at the very end, we can just say if face count is greater than 0, then we'll do all this stuff to create a new mesh. And otherwise, let's just leave the mesh like that. So let's see if that takes care of this error for us. So clear. Yep, let's fix that. All right, now one thing I want to do is actually have dirt here. I think we're past the point where we need to have the top, northwest, all that. Let's actually draw our dirt, which is really quite easy. So in our chunk, we're doing this. And for the top, we're just going to add UVs, 0, 0, and that's the position on my little atlas here. So for the top, we want to make it this one here, which is 0 on X and 0, 1, 2 on Y. So we should go 0, 2, and now all the tops should be green grass. That worked. All right, and let's do all the sides. So the sides will be, well, the top ones should have this one with a bit of grass, and every other sort of side that's not directly a top block should have this one. So let's first make them all this one. So it's going to be 1 and 2. Let's copy all those in. North, and the bottom is going to get 0, 3. There we go, there's a nice Minecrafty terrain. Is there anywhere we can actually see 2 blocks stacked? No, really, I don't have any steep spots. So I'll fix it now, but we'll have to test it in a minute. So all we need to do is basically, if this is the top block, it's going to have this picture. If it's not a top block, but it's still got air here, then it's going to be just the dirt. And all we do is we just check if the top is air. What we do is we go var is top block is false by default. And then if there is air above the top, we just go is top block equals true. Oops. And now for each of these, we'll just go if is top block, then we'll do that one. And if it's not the top block, we will grab this one, which is 0, 3. Simple as that. And now we just copy over all of these. So that shouldn't make any real difference for this one. So we can't really tell. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add some caves, and then we should be able to see the sides a bit better. And the way we do caves is we're actually going to stick some 3D noise under our 2D noise here. So let's go back to our world. So we've got our 2D noise. Let's just go var cave noise, and let's also add cave noise frequency, and let's just keep the seed the same. And so my cave noise will be sort of exactly the same over here. And the way we'll do the caves is when we're getting this block here, if it's dirt, so we're not going to do caves in the air, so all the caves will happen below where the dirt line is now. And what we'll do is in here, we'll just go if cave noise, get noise 3D, grab the position, and let's just say if it's greater than minus 0.5, I think it was, then we will return dirt. And otherwise, we'll return air. So 3D noise, pretty much exactly like we were doing it before, but it only counts if we're below that dirt line already. So let's give that a crack. Make sure my cave noise frequency, let's make it 0.05, and let's generate. And I can't really see anything there, but if we look underneath, you'll see we've got all these little caves, and they're all pretty small. So they're just like little cavities. And you can see my dirt stacks are working now. We've got a big cave over here. Let's have a look at this one. You can see we've got a little cave building in there. And a nice one here as well. Actually, I'm pretty happy with that one. But if we want bigger caves, we can just play with this noise frequency. Let's make it like that. And I think that went the wrong way. You can see we've got much more small ones now. 0.1. And then there's heaps. So I probably wouldn't use this level for caves, but you can imagine if I wanted to put in different kinds of ore and have them spread around in little chunks, this would be a good way to do the ore chunks as well. But I think for the caves, my favorite one was was it that one? Yeah, that's, so we've got some nice chunky caves now. But we could fiddle with that and make them bigger. All right, so let's make that a 16 by 16 again. And let's make a pretty big world. And so you can see it loads. It's still a little bit blocky when I'm loading, but we're still in the editor as well now. All right, so there's a nice little world we've got going. It's 3D, it's auto-generating. And so the next step, I think, would be to make it editable, sort of in real time. So let's see what happens if we can delete stuff. Oh, one more thing. We're getting this tiling, that sort of lines between the textures. The way to fix that is we go to our material, and it's something like filter. Yes, we need to change the sampling filter. So just change that one, and you can see, change it to nearest. And my texture is still not good, and it's a little bit of a tiled texture because I just quickly made it, but it's not actually showing up in game. Of course, it's still really ugly. There's no lighting or anything, but there we go, guys. We can now generate a world. And if you want to make another one, if you're not happy with this one, you just change the seed and generate it again. Now, one cool thing I'm just imagining is we have another one noise for like rocks and stuff. We can have big chunky rocks that actually stick out a little bit. But yeah, that's all for later. Thanks for hanging around, guys. I hope you got something out of that. See you next time.